FT Live post-game show after Game 2 of the NLCS, where the Dodgers take a 2-0 lead and head back home to LA. Well, things are lining up for a Dodgers-Mariners World Series. Scotty Braun, Erik, Kratz. Let's talk and instantly react. Kratz, the starting pitcher is so back.
So back, and it's so bountiful in LA. I mean, they have all the starting pitching. It's not even fair. No other teams. Next year, they're probably going to go 162-0.
It reminds me of last offseason, where the Dodgers put icing on the cake with some bullpen additions that we do not even see in the postseason, like Kirby Yates and Tanner Scott. But also, the weakness for the Dodgers is not that much of a weakness. It's like a little sprinkle of a weakness because you often don't need it. Let's start with Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Doc Roberts lets him go the difference one day after holding Blake Snell and not having him go in the ninth after one of the more dominant performances in the postseason we've seen in a minute. So Yamamoto tops him. A complete game, 9-inning domination from Yamamoto. He gives up the first pitch homer to Jackson Chourio, and then look at the screen. 3 hits the entire game, that 1 run to the first batter on the first pitch, nothing after that. He walked 1, he fanned 7, he had it rolling. He gave you just enough in terms of the swing and miss, some of the early count attacks from the Brewers early on in the game. Just enough like to sprinkle in a little bit of everything that you'd usually see from Yamamoto over an entire game. He was brilliant.
Dominant. I mean, 1 pitch, leadoff homer, and then he gave up 1 walk, especially since Chourio hit the leadoff homer on a heater. I turned to my son. We were watching the game. I go, well, he's gonna be able to go far if he can throw his breaking ball, because he's not gonna want to throw his fastball anymore. Credit to Yamamoto, credit to Will Smith for saying, it's okay. 1 swing, we're good. And they weren't just good, they were great. Complete game, 1 run. That is like, what is this, the 90s?
Right? 70s? 80s? 90s? 90s. Postseason game under 3 hours? Absolutely. Dave Roberts not having to do almost anything besides say, okay, you can continue pitching, right? I mean, he had to make no decisions. And hey, this is a far cry from what we used to see from the Dodgers. Remember, this team has made it to the postseason, I think, 13 consecutive years. But Kratz, it wasn't always like this. They got very cute in the past. Platoon City, switching pitchers left and right? Pulling guys early from starts, which it wasn't just them. It was most of Major League Baseball. They're one of the more traditional teams in the sport. And yes, we get it. For the non-Dodger fans that are watching right now, we know they have money and they have resources. Oh, and they also have one of the top farm systems in the sport. And that is held down by a salary cap with a draft and international money you're able to spend. Oops, they're still best in that. So I would just like to say this team is so dominant right now and clicking on all cylinders. It's really exactly as they drew things up in March, right? We are going to get through the marathon so that we have ace coming at you in the postseason. And that's what we have right now. Yamamoto gave them a really full, dominant sophomore season, and that has continued into the postseason, aside from the little blip against the Phillies. Kratz Glasnow, who has had his injury issues, gets healthy at the right time for them, which is what they care about. Shohei Ohtani is in this postseason slumping mostly as a hitter. I know he came through with 1 RBI knock in this one and might not even have to pitch in this series. I mean, I guess you could throw him in game 4, but you don't have to if you don't feel like you want to and you're up 3-0 at that point. We'll see. Right?
Yeah. You hit on a lot of guys there, different guys. And I want to take it back to what you said, like, oh man, this team was built. Nobody else is able to build, or whatever you said, the financial resources. Okay, so nobody could have spent $115 million on Tyler Glasnow. nobody could have spent $170 million deferred money on Blake Snell. Both available. Mookie Betts got traded over to the Dodgers. Freddie Freeman was a Brave. It's becoming a destination. Kike Hernandez came on our show, and I know people will be like, who cares about Kike? Well, you know what? Kike shows up in the playoffs. And if you're a playoff team, you might want to make your destination a place like Kike talked about, LA, where you go, I don't want to go anywhere else. And is it about winning? Yes, it's about winning. It's about winning for every one of these guys. And there's so many of these guys. Yeah, every team did not have a chance at Shohei. Every team clearly did not have a chance at Roki Sasaki. But they built this team, not just this year or last offseason when they got Shohei. They've built this team and this organization for the last 13 years. They were like, dang it, we screwed up. Maybe too much platoon. They're not even, like tonight, the bats broke out. Before this, in the last two series, they were hitting 199 as a team. Max Muncy had his first RBI tonight. Freddie Freeman got his first RBI last night. They are playing, as much as this might sound terrible to other fan bases, they're playing all 26 men. Ben Rortvedt was a catcher that got called up in September that got picked up from an organization to fill in and almost caught back-to-back no-hitters. Like, this is an organization that brings guys in that fits their mold. Yeah, they pay some of them. I get that. But they fits their mold, and they could care less about their own success. They want to win, and look at what they're doing again this year.
By the way, did you mention Pajes?
No, I didn't. I think
Do you know what his slump
first
was?
hit tonight?
He had been 1 for 27 this postseason with no walks and no runs batted in, and he had arguably the biggest knock of the game because it was the go-ahead and it was the deciding run driven in by Pajes. 2-out RBI double to the right field corner, and suddenly this lineup looks quite scary. I don't want to say suddenly. I mean, obviously they put up runs throughout this postseason so far, but like you mentioned, some of the guys that had been quiet are starting to light up. It's becoming a problem very quickly for Milwaukee. They are going to have to win 4 of their next 5 games, just like the Toronto Blue Jays are going to have to win 4 of their next 5 games. And 3 of those games are going to be on the road. That doesn't necessarily mean everything. No. The Dodgers just won 2 games on the road. The Mariners just won 2 games on the road in the championship series. But we will talk a little bit more about what happened in game 2 and then spin it forward to game 3 to see if Milwaukee has a fighting chance or if the Dodgers are on their way to sweep City. We're going to step aside for a quick second. Please subscribe to Foul Territory if you're watching us right now and you don't already. We have a lot more to go here on the post-game show. Be right back. KP, we both love Omaha Steaks. My latest order, 6 private reserve filet mignons. It sounds bougie because it is. They were fantastic. And also 1.5 pounds of jumbo cooked shrimp with a big initial discount and then an additional $35 off with the code FOUL. You have been a long time Omaha Steaks guy too.
Yeah, back in college, I would always order steaks. I'd put them in my freezer. And that's the reason I bulked up, is because I always had fresh steaks in my freezer ready to go.
Delicious protein. Get after it, okay? It is the best in the biz. If you're ordering steaks online, you can save big with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their early Black Friday sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code FOUL at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com. Promo code FOUL at checkout. We're back. Thanks for hanging with us. And let's talk about the Dodgers starting rotation ERA. If you've played at least 8 games in a postseason, they're at the 2 spot all time right now. The number is 154. Second lowest in history among teams with at least 8 playoff games. Number 1 belonging to the 1983 Orioles at 131. And yes, we understand there are still postseason games to go, but just to give you some context on where they're at. The Brewers bullpen has been really good throughout the postseason, Kratz. They weren't as sharp in this one, but at the same time, they're getting used a ton. and they are not the problem. They are the strength. The offense needs to figure things out against number one starters every night. I know I ask you this almost every night, but it's like, is this the offense's fault? Or are they matching up against the top 10 starters on the planet and they can't muster up offense?
I mean, I tend to, when I'm watching these pitchers, I tend to see these swings and say, it's the pitchers. Like, these pitchers are dominating in the zone. Yamamoto and Snell the last 2 nights have 1 walk combined. Snell had 0 last night. Yamamoto had 1. And when you're doing that and you're still getting 10 punchies, 7 punchies, you're still going 8, 9 innings, it means you're getting outs in the zone and your stuff is really just dominant right now. Like, their starting rotation is clicking on all cylinders against a Brewers lineup that knows how to hit, that knows how to score runs and manufacture things. And they're just not able to do it. And it doesn't get any easier. It doesn't get any easier. You got a day off, and then you face Glasnow. You hope maybe Glasnow can walk a few guys because he normally gets 2 or 3 walks in a game. But right now, if he's watching the other guys, he's like, oh, wait, they're right. My stuff does play in the zone. It's gonna be another tough night.
Where is Miz? Asks Owl. Miz will appear soon. Maybe game 3.
Does he hit? Does the Miz hit? Like, that's not like
it doesn't
the
matter.
Miz ain't solving Yamamoto.
Yeah. Hey, game 1 was close. I will say this. Game 1 was close. The Dodgers had a lot more activity going on, but the Brewers had a chance to win that game. And even Pat Murphy phrased it the same way that the question was asked. They could have stolen game 1 with what was going on late. There were 2 major issues. One, Abner Uribe walked in a run. That made it 2-0. Brewers caught up with 1 run, but not 2. In the 9th, Bryce Terang almost hit by a pitch. Instinct pulls him back. We talked a lot about that on Foul Territory during the day. And then Terang chases a fastball high level. That was the game. But they had a chance. Bases were loaded there. That was your chance to knock the Dodgers and make this a 1-1, even if Yamamoto dominated. And it's crazy to think that Blake Snell dominated like that and the Brewers were in this spot. This is a good team. But we talked about them in the regular season as a contact team, a patient team, and a team that ranked pretty far down there in terms of pop. Do you think that the Dodgers' attack plan is throw strikes, our stuff is better, and we don't feel like there are too many power threats? So let's just be economical as hell and show off some of the best stuff in our game.
I think their plan is a very old school approach. When I got to AAA, the pitching coach was like, look, we can look at the lineup. We can say, just based on stats, the guys that you can't walk. And then based on stats, we're going to then look at the guys who you can't just get me over pitches. He's like, and I haven't even seen any of them swing. If you don't drive the ball in AAA and the big leagues, good pitchers, which the Dodgers pitching staff starting rotation is great, not good, they're great, can just attack you with fastballs. Because majority of the time, you're not going to hit the ball out of the ballpark. You have to put the fear of the home run in the pitching staff to then scare them out of the zone. Now, we say all that to say, look what happens to the teams that strike out too much. They look listless. The Phillies have to make an adjustment in the postseason. We're seeing so many different variations of lineups in this postseason that the reality is, whatever you're doing, you have to win the ball game. The Phillies, against this vaunted starting rotation, had leads in 3 games against their starting rotation. They lost all 3 of those games. They were losing in one of those games to their starting rotation. They won that game. This is the razor thin line that you run in the postseason. And when you have a team as deep as the Dodgers, a team that plays so well together and has team at bats, the lineup at some point seems to pick you up. And the starting rotation is doing it exactly opposite This time last year, we were going, man, how did they survive that Padres series? The Padres, oh man, they could have been the team that was in it. And yet it's the Dodgers that are always coming out on top because they just have that slight edge.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to speak for Dodger fans here. I know there are plenty watching our show right now, and also after our show, you can check out Dodgers territory. They're running live too. I imagine that Dodger fans felt a lot more nervous last year than they did this year. There hasn't been a lot of panic, right? I mean, they breezed through the Reds. They took down the Phillies in some really exciting games, but we didn't get to a game 5. And right now, they're really in command with a 2-0 series lead. It felt like maybe they could have taken a breath in the World Series last year because the National League was so much more dominant and well-rounded. So it was a gauntlet to get through the National League. And then the Yankees, in my mind, were not as good as several teams that they ran into before that. But this time around, you might almost have the opposite equation running. You might have it where the Dodgers don't feel like they were too tested in the National League side, but then they run into a Mariners team that's feeling good and can match up against them. Their starters can match up against them. Their bullpen right now, traditional bullpen relievers, right? Traditional relief pitchers are better than what the Dodgers are offering. They've got a hotter bullpen. And lineup wise, I think it's pretty close. And the identity of both offenses is pretty close. It's a less battle-tested Mariners group, but it's just something to think about as we look forward here. If you're a Dodger fan, you're rooting hard right now for Toronto, aren't you? Make this a little bit of a fight, put Seattle in a tough spot. Although they played 15 innings in a game 5, and it didn't faze them much when they headed over to Toronto. So I think we're heading into what could be a heavyweight matchup and the two teams that deserve to be there.
I think I disagree with you. The lineup, I think the Dodgers lineup is much better. You're not running out. Especially if you're talking about looking ahead, because this is definitely way ahead. Facing the Mariners, they're not making any left-hand starters, or not making any starts. So to me, you have your best starting lineup out there against righties. I think the Dodgers are deeper, but that's why you play these games. And this is why I would encourage every organization to push all in. Some will say, it's not fair. Look what the Dodgers do. They've been in every game. Besides the Reds, they've been in every game with the Dodgers. And if you think the Dodgers if you're out there and you think the Dodgers are the favorite, and you're like, oh man, you have no chance of beating them. I've had a chance every single night, except for the Reds, and maybe tonight, I would say you didn't have a chance. And I would stop looking at it as starting rotation and bullpen, and I would look at it as which team can get 9 outs first. Because the Mariners aren't going to go. Dan Wilson has shown he's not going to allow his starters to go. John Schneider has shown he's not going to allow his starters to go. Brewers don't have that kind of start length. The Dodgers don't have that kind of bullpen. So it's really about how do you get 9 innings of outs, not 9 outs, 9 innings of outs, 27 outs.
I think it's pretty obvious how the roadmap can look for the Dodgers to either win this NLCS or even sweep. What does the roadmap look like for the Crew? I mean, obviously, do you call it an approach change? Do you call it some bad command outings from the Dodgers? Do you call it riding pitchers up in terms of pitch count to get to the bullpen and cracking that open? The Brewers have had a lot of comeback wins this year. It's a pesky offense, but it's not intimidating for LA right now. How does it turn around?
You go into the Glasnow game, he's not throwing strikes. You take advantage of that. He walks a few guys. That's an automatic double. They're going to take advantage of the opportunity that maybe Glasnow's unhittable, but he's not unscorable against. Like, you can get some runs if they play their game. I'll triple down, quadruple down on it. Like, you have to play your game, and you can't say we're going to change our approach other than understand who the next starter is. Understand what Shohei's going to do to you. Understand that Glasnow's MO has been elite dominating stuff, but you got to bring him in the zone. And it's going to be tough because you're like, well, 99's cutting at the top of the zone. I can't tell if that's going to be going back down into the zone because now he added the slider. That curveball, I got to see it at my eyes to be able to swing at it middle. So that means middle. I got to take it, but I got to recognize it. And you work that way where you could go like a 6-inning outing with Glasnow. And now you're like, okay, we have about 2 innings where we can really add on here. But they got to get guys on, and Glasnow can't hold runners, so that could be a path. Now all of a sudden it's 2-1. Now you figure out how to win one of the next 2 games. Shohei pitches, he gets tired, maybe his bat doesn't come around because the Dodgers lineup really isn't hitting very well. Tonight they did. Can you keep them down? That's the only way they do it.
Okay. It would be a nightmare for Dodger fans. Doesn't sound like it's very likely, but we've seen 2-0 comebacks. 3-0 comebacks are tough. They exist, but they're very tough. 2-0 comebacks are a thing. For me, it's hard to see them when you look at how teams are playing, right? Like, and we've been surprised before because things can turn in our sport. There's a lot of unpredictable moments in baseball, but you look at the way these teams match up. It's just hard to see the Dodgers with the guys they're throwing out there falling in 4 out of 5 coming up. Let's finish with this. Series more likely to take a turn, ALCS or NLCS?
I mean, I feel like it has to be the ALCS, even though the pitching matchup there doesn't look great for the Blue Jays. It's there's a lot of parallels. The Mariners are in control. Their starting rotation, their pitching matchup is in their favor. The Dodgers are in control. Starting rotation in their favor in the next 2 games. I have a hard time believing that the Brewers can come back from this in LA up against the pitchers that they have to face. So I'm going to say the Mariners have a better chance of blowing this lead. Still a small chance, though.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I agree. Mariners, but it's hard to see it on either side right now. But I would definitely go Mariners. I think the Blue Jays offense is dynamic. Not that the Brewers isn't, but I mean, I think the Dodgers pitching right now just has the answer against Milwaukee. It's a more battle-tested crew too. Most of those Mariners players have never been in a spot like this. It doesn't necessarily matter, but I'll go with that pick as well. Okay, here's the deal. Foul territory every day, 1 to 3 Eastern. So we'll be back on tomorrow. Guest list includes Tyler Kepner from The Athletic and Seth McClung. You didn't play with Seth McClung, did you?
No, against him.
Against him. Okay. Former pitcher Seth McClung will join us, and we'll find out who the other guest is, and we post it every day on social media. So 1 to 3 Eastern, like we do every single day. We won't have a post-game show on Wednesday. We might have one on Thursday after another Dodgers-Brewers matchup, which could lead us to a 3-0 series lead for the Dodgers, which essentially is a coffin for Milwaukee. But thank you for watching, and let's give a shout-out on the back end here to Fox One. They live for life. Try 7 days free. Hit the QR code on the screen, or we have the link in the description of this episode on YouTube or on podcast. They have the rest of the ALCS and the World Series. So if you don't have Fox on TV, this is the spot for you. Go give it a shot. ALCS keeps rolling, and then they'll have the World Series, of course. Thanks so much for checking out this FT postgame show. Instant reaction to the Dodgers taking a 2-0 series lead, and I can't say it enough. Starting pitching matters, people. See you tomorrow.